Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to this Astrology, Human Design, and Gene Keys channel with me, Tan. Today, here again with you with another Gene Key transmission. And today, we're going to be talking about Gene Key 40 or Human Design Gate 40, which is associated with the Virgo archetype in astrology. But of course, if the Gene Keys is something very new to you, I have made some few introduction videos to what it is and how to find each gene key in your chart. So do head over to some of the videos that I'm going to provide a link for in the description box and check out those videos, and you can come back and watch this video if you're very new to this. If you're interested in getting a reading, astrology, human design, or gene keys, then head over to my website, tatastrology.com, where me and my beautiful soul sisters would love to be your guides on your astrological journeys, or human design journeys, or gene key journeys. So to get started today, we are going to be going over the overview of Gene Key 40 first, as usual. So Gene Key 40 covers 545 degrees of Virgo to 1122 degrees of Virgo. Nice number. Gene Key 40 moves from the shadow called exhaustion to the gift of resolve to the siddhi of divine will, the will to surrender. The vision key bird is the robin, the life key animal is the cat, and the fear key underworld creature is a wasp. In the CODON ring, this gene key is part of the ring of alchemy. In the 64 I-CHING hexagram, this hexagram is thunder over water. Deliverance. Flow effortlessly like water to experience the energy of spirit. The programming partner of Gene Key 40 is Gene Key 37 and Human Design Gate 37. That's Pisces archetype. So I highly recommend that you also check out the video for your programming partner as well, because the programming partner is going to offer a balancing, complementary, opposite energy to the energies that we're going to be talking about today. In Human Design, this gate is located in the will, the heart, or the ego center in the body graph, and it's connected to gate 37 in the solar plexus via a channel called the channel of community, moving from the shadow called bargaining to the gift of community and the siddhi of synthesis. So, like all of the Gene Keys videos, we're going to now be looking into the nature association, and this one, and of course when it comes to the birds, this particular Gene Key 40 is associated with the robin. So what does that mean? What is the symbolism of the robin? The robin has had many symbols throughout our history. One of the symbols of the robin is a symbol of divine sacrifice, and the associated red, or actually orange, breast of the robin has also been associated with a blood of Christ that has dripped onto this little bird. The robin is also a sign of rebirth, renewal, and death, and the afterlife. And it was interesting because I was watching Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the other day. And, in Sabrina on Netflix, when you're astral projecting, sometimes you will be able to sense the spirit of the dead ones as you're astral traveling, astral projecting. And in Sabrina, the astral projection, when they're sensing, when they're closer to death and sensing the spirits of the dead, they will begin to see robins, right, coming into that particular field of projection. So it was interesting that the robin is associated with death and the spirit in some ways. The robin is a symbol of renewal because it is about letting go of anything negative that is affecting your life to embrace the new and to move on to a happier phase of life. And what are those negative energies? We'll be looking at that today. The robin is also a bird that's very fierce with their territory. Sometimes the males would fight another male to death just to guard their territory. They might look like adorable little birds, but they can be very fierce, let's just say. They might also be a bird that's a little bit associated with anger issues because they're known to be able to see red and attack other birds of their own species just to release their anger. The robins are the first birds to be singing in the morning and the last to stop in the evening. They're also very well known for their running and stopping behavior, and the red breasts of the robins are there for the purpose of sort of being like a red flag symbol of their territory. They intimidate other birds with that red breast. So if you have this particular gene key, this archetype somewhere in your chart, you are definitely going to be somebody who has this quality of being able to rejuvenate and renew yourself. And this particular archetype, it's very much about physical renewal. And we'll look at that in a little bit very soon, what that actually means. You're also going to be somebody who can be territorial, with your people. And there's a theme of boundaries, that we're going to talk about today as well, but it will come up in your life. Do you have too much boundaries? Do you not have enough boundaries in your life? And so on and so forth. But also becoming very wise about the appropriate types of boundaries to create in your life. You might also be somebody who sees red sometimes, so you can get very angry and not be aware of how you are handling that releasing of anger on the negative end of things, of course. So let's look at the shadow of this archetype first, which is called exhaustion. So Gene Key 40 in general is very much connected to our ability in our bodies to convert food into liquid. So very Virgonian archetype here. And then convert that liquid into energy. So converting food to liquid to energy through the medium of the stomach. So digestion, basically. So when it comes to like Chinese medicine or ancient medicine, the health of the body is very much related to what is called the qi and the measuring of the qi, which is like this vital energetic force within all of us. So there's two kinds of qis. There's a prenatal qi and a postnatal qi. A prenatal qi or energy is something that is imprinted within you the moment that you were born. It's an inherited vitality, we can say. When it comes to the postnatal qi, this is energy that you extract from food and nature and your environment. So the shadow of exhaustion, therefore, comes when you are unable to use the second qi. So when you're unable to use the postnatal qi, meaning that your body is not able to convert food into energy or convert food into liquid into energy. Or very simply put, your body is unable to digest properly. So what happens when you're in the shadow of exhaustion, your body's not able to do that. So you're not able to use energy that's taken from food properly. So your body has to end up reverting to using prenatal qi instead of the postnatal qi. So it takes the reserve of energy that need not be used. It takes that from your body and uses that. So this can be sort of an illustration of, we can say, the wrong use of willpower here. So, because the wrong use of willpower is when you are using energy not in alignment with your body and you're not using energy in alignment with nature. So there's an interesting association in that sense. So we can also say that there isn't a balance of the body's ability to use prenatal qi and postnatal qi. So willpower, when it is used wrongly, it becomes force. Although you can succeed when you're using your willpower wrongly, but it will be at the cost of your health, and at a cost of your health and your body, and the effects of that will be very extreme and even irreversible. It can either lead to an unusual buildup in your stomach, it can lead to cancer, it can lead to ulcers, kidney diseases, and diseases related to your adrenals. This can then lead to premature aging, disease, and exhaustion. So when you're in the shadow of exhaustion, you can become somebody who is forcing your own willpower to do something without having adequate support from others. Or you can become somebody who is allowing others to take advantage of your willpower. There's going to be two things happening. So if you are the type that has other people taking advantage of your willpower, you may find yourself working in a job or in a company where you are being paid less, but you're working over hours. You work in a job that doesn't allow your spirit room to breathe. You fall into a low frequency energy vibration. This reinforces low self-esteem, which means that you're willing to accept payments or rewards that are not equivalent to the amount of energy that you put into something. So you accept whatever you're paid, kind of like that. The other way, of course, is that you are somebody that is, we can say, forcing your willpower onto others. using your individual will on others. You may look for, people who have weaker willpower so that you can kind of take advantage of them somehow. Or this can also manifest as you being addicted to your work. So using your willpower to achieve something in the world, we can say, and isolating yourself from your community, isolating yourself sometimes from just like your family, or isolating yourself from your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your wife or your husband. It's almost this energy of you're just so addicted to work that you don't even have any time for the people closest to you or your friends or your community. The more that you drain your energy in this way, the more that your heart begins to close. And this may even cost you your humanity. And when you're in this kind of shadow, it's very hard for you to relax. It's very hard for you to take a break. This type of shadow of exhaustion where you are, overworking, overly using your willpower, you may come across as somebody who seems very independent, very strong, but unconsciously you are very lonely and there is weakness hidden there. And that weakness is the inability to say no, even if it means that you are the one who's more assertive. You're not the one that's being taken advantage of by others. But you see how it can kind of like feed back and forth here as well. Because when you have somebody who is too overly ambitious, right? Whether that means you're overly ambitious with your own business, or you're overly ambitious working in the organization that you work for, you are still working over hours. You are still working over hours. If you find yourself working on Saturdays, on Sundays, on the weekends, if you find yourself working 7 days a week, or even 6 days a week, or for some people, 5 days a week is way too much for them, depending on your human design type of things. And you don't really have time for other people in your life or anything else in your life, or relaxation in your life. You see how that's also like coming from your inability to maybe say no to your boss because they're asking you to do that. Or your inability to say no to some other aspect of your life. Like maybe there's people asking for your money. Maybe your family's asking for your money and you can't say no to that, so you have to overwork. Or maybe it's also because you can't say no to yourself. There's just this like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And you don't even say no to yourself. When your body is saying, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. But you're like, yes, keep going. Yes, keep going. Both of these types of situations will result in you feeling very lonely. There is a loneliness that comes with the shadow of exhaustion here. When you're in the shadow of exhaustion, you can also be very adept at denial. So you can deny your own feelings. It's very easy for you to say, I'm not exhausted, I'm not tired, I'm okay. And when manifested at the very physical level, this type of exhaustion is what is considered to be the gene key that actually leads to cancerous diseases on the planet. You must come to a point where you understand that you and you alone are responsible for your health. So when you have the reactive shadow of this archetype, and you're going to have both the reactive and the repressive when you have this gene key, and all gene keys, so that you're going to have both reactive and repressive playing out back and forth from time to time in your life. So when you're in the repressive, because this is the repressive first, when you're in the repressive shadow of exhaustion, you are the one that lacks firm boundaries in your life. You lack the will to stand up for yourself. You have this habit of denying your own needs. You give of yourself tirelessly to people and organizations that never really care about you and are happy to take advantage of your energy. When you're in the reactive shadow, you have an extreme rage inside of you, kind of like the robin, but you're in denial of that rage. And this rage has its roots in a very difficult childhood. You adopt this mindset of having a lot of contempt for others, and you can appear to be quite arrogant to people. You have these big boundaries up, the opposite of the other one, and you don't really allow people to get close to you. And you may not come across to other people as being exhausted, but actually on the inside, you are, and your health will take its toll in the end. And there will be negative consequences that happens to your community, to your family, to your loved ones. Okay, so how can we move from this shadow of exhaustion to the gift of resolve? So Richard Rudd calls the gift of resolve the lost art of doing nothing. So resolve means that you somehow are able to align your life force correctly. And Aligning, and one of the simplest things that you can do with this archetype in order to align your life force correctly is to learn to say no. You set up firm boundaries and you deny other people access to your energy if it's not aligned. So, for example, if your boss asks you to work overtime, but of course you're going to get money, maybe you have to say no because, like, you have to spend time with your family this weekend, for example. You have to support your family with something this weekend. So you have to say no to that. You need money then. Well, what do you need the money for? That makes you have to use a step over your own boundaries, overuse your energy, and say yes to working over hours. Maybe you have to use that money because your daughter needs to buy something for herself. But maybe you need to say no to your daughter there as well. So it's really about understanding that everything's going to be fine, that you don't have to force things to happen at a certain time in your life if there's no resources available, there's no energy available for that at that moment. You can also use isolation as a wonderful ally if you're using it correctly. You are also going to be able to learn to set personal boundaries, of course, like I mentioned already. Be more adept at giving to yourself. And giving to yourself in this case doesn't mean work to overachieve. That's giving to myself. If I could work, if I could achieve this, I'm giving to myself. No, we're not talking about that. That's not, if you're really honest, if you were going to give yourself, if you were giving to yourself in that sense, you don't have to work overtime, actually. Because when we are working overtime, now we're talking about like, okay, I got to give something else to somebody else, or I've got to give this to a particular obligation that I have in my life. So it's about giving to yourself without the concern for the obligation of something, and be in a state of deep physical relaxation. Yes, it's about this beautiful balance between serving the world and serving your own enjoyment. Something that doesn't have an agenda attached to it. So if you have this archetype, when you are serving yourself, you are doing something for yourself without the agenda. So that's why I say if you're trying to work and achieve and you say, I'm doing that for myself, there's an agenda behind that. When was the last time you just did something without any agenda, without no motivation, just because you enjoyed it, just because it's pleasurable to you? This will access that gift of resolve. And resolve is not the same as rest. Relaxation and resolve is not the same as rest. It doesn't mean that you have to really do nothing, but it does mean that you have to do something without that willpower, without that agenda coming into play, something that just is truly relaxing. When you're in the gifts of resolve, you realize that life is not meant to be as hard as we humans make it to be, that there can be effortlessness involved, there can be ease involved in life. You know how to save your energy at all levels, and you understand what is called wu wei, that is the art of doing nothing. When you know how to properly work hard, you will find that it doesn't even require that much effort in you to work hard in the sense of the correct work hard, which means that you know how to stop. And within the amount of time that you have, you are efficient, and then you know how to stop. That's really the perfect way that you can work hard. And the other way of looking at, this ability to be able to work without exhausting yourself is to do something that almost isn't even really work for you. It doesn't even feel like it's work for you. When work is in harmony with your true nature, it doesn't even feel like work at all. Like if you were just, sitting in your room one day and you wrote poetry because you were just writing in your journal, and it was just effortless to write that poetry, and somehow you managed to, and you are a poet, and somehow you manage to sell poetry to people and you become a poet in one way or another, that work can be almost effortless. When you are in the gifts of resolve, you become the backbone. You become the backbone of teams and projects, and you inspire support and help from others. You have support from others, from your community, from your friends, and you are able to be a part of communities in which you are the backbone of those communities, and they support you in return so that you're not doing it all alone in the world. When you're in the gift of resolve, you realize that sometimes saying no is very powerful, and sometimes even more powerful than saying yes. Even though when you're saying no to that other party, they may not understand at the beginning, but they will eventually begin to see how things flow into place by saying no. When you're in the gift of resolve, you can also thrive on aloneness. But again, that doesn't mean that you have to isolate yourself all the time. But you find that balance between having alone time and between spending time with your communities and other people and, using your energy in that way. So when we move on to the Siddhi of Divine Will, like I mentioned with all of my Gene Keys videos, I don't want to go too deeply into the Siddhi because the Siddhi is a state of being that's kind of enlightened, and the Siddhi will dawn upon you when you are constantly living out the gift frequency of your particular Gene Key. So the Siddhi of Divine Will is this trust and this understanding that there is some kind of unexplainable force behind the things that happen in the universe, that there exists a higher power. So you understand that the seekers of God, it's really useless to do that. And you are going to be somebody that kind of maybe is not supportive of the seekers of God because you deny you deny the existence of the separation between humanity and divinity. You don't really follow anyone's teachings or paths except your own. You speak from a place of simplicity, logic that can be penetrating and sometimes even shocking, because the things that you say may destroy. There's a little bit of a paradox with regards to divine will, and I want to read a quote from Richard Rudd in the Gene Keys book for you. He says, "To those outside the Siddhic state, divine will seem like a powerful concept. There's a reason behind everything, and that ultimately everything remains in the hands of a higher force. However, to the one immersed in the 40th Siddhi of divine will, the paradox is wonderful, that God can only visit when you are not there. Every human being is a point of divine will, and yet nothing exists outside of humanity." How ironic and very beautiful. From this, you are absolutely free to do as you wish in life, and yet at the same time, nothing you do is really in your hands. So this is really a beautiful concept of the fact that, well, when we think about something like free will, what is free will really? But, when you're in the Siddhi of divine will, you understand that it's not even possible to even think about free will, because the thought of free will means that there's you independent of some other force out there. But this Siddhic state tells us that the us that we have here to make these choices that can be considered free will, we're not even really there, are we? We are already one with the forces around us. There is no separation there. So everything that you do that you think is your free will is not, and everything that you think has been destined for you is a part of your free will too. So they're all united and one. So that's going to be the transmission of Gene Key 40 for you today. If you guys resonate with this, then do comment below. If you have this, comment below. I love reading all your experiences. And if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you already subscribed and have been coming along with my astrology, human design, and Gene Keys journeys, then thank you very much, beautiful souls, for always being here. I appreciate you more than you can ever imagine. And if you like the videos and the effort that I've been putting into this channel, then you can also give me a super thanks as well. I would really appreciate that. It's in the tabs below the video. You can open it up and hit to give super thanks. And yes, beautiful souls, that's going to be it for today. Don't forget to check out the video on your programming partner, Gene Key 37 as well. And have a lovely day. Sending everyone much resolve, relaxation today.